This is a low percent speedrun of Metroid Prime 2 Echoes on the Gamecube. The idea behind this run was to try to produce a better quality run than my old 20% run in 2 hours and 44 minutes, because since that run was completed, a lot more things had been discovered. This run was started a little more than a year after that one. And also the 20%, the quality of play in the 20% wasn't particularly good. It was really just a proof of concept to prove that that items could be skipped for a percentage drop in this game. So this was really an attempt to just try to improve the whole state of low percent speedrunning on this game. When this game first came out, it was believed rightly that it would be difficult to skip items for a percentage drop like we did in Metroid Prime 1. And in order to be able to do it in this game, it requires you to get creative and use techniques commonly known as secret worlds, which basically involves walking around outside the game map. But hopefully this run will demonstrate what can be done if you are prepared to, as I say, get creative. There's a first mistake here where I shot the soldier hanging from the ceiling instead of the webbing, so that probably cost about half a second or so. I found this quite difficult actually. The longer the run went on, or the segment went on, the harder I found to do that boost there between the corpse on the right and the pillar on the left, and stop right in front of the bomb slot. It was one of those strange things that just I seemed to be able to do well at first and got worse at as the attempts went on. There's a speed trick here which was found by Sparky, where you can scan the scan post there through the glass. You don't have to go all the way around to scan that, so that's quite useful. It does save quite a bit of time. There's a mistake here as well where I charged a shot here, and this is meant to hit the box, but I shot it into the wall instead. But you can just jump over the box, so I probably didn't lose more than about half a second by missing the box. This is the first trip into the dark world here, where the game very thoughtfully robs you of a large selection of your useful items, like the morph ball bombs and the boost ball. There's been a lot of question about whether it's possible to skip this dark world trip here and actually keep those items, which would mean you wouldn't have to collect them again, but nobody's ever found a plausible way of doing that. I sometimes found it difficult to get into this morph ball tunnel here because the camera can play tricks with you, but if you get it wrong first time, it doesn't actually cost you any time, because you have to wait there for the door to open in the morph ball tunnel. And that actually happens quite a lot in this game, where you can make a mistake that doesn't cost you any time because you'll be waiting for a door to open. You could also do other things like shoot boxes and pick up refills while you're waiting for doors to open, and that won't cost you time because it's only time you would have spent waiting for the door. This is a speed trick. Now, I can't remember who found this, so apologies to whoever it was, but there's a really nice trick here where you scan the post, then you use a trick called the Ghetto jump here to jump on top of this box, and then you can finish scanning the post. And what's happening now is you actually stood on top of that box during the cutscene, and the cutscene then carries you on top of the box over towards the exit, and it saves you a lot of time. If you stop the cutscene now, it saves you a lot of time going all the way around and scanning things and shooting things so that you can get to the exit. So that is actually a big time saver. There's a little dash I do just here, just a little dash here, combat dash to the left, just to get me into position a bit quicker, which possibly saves, I don't know, half a second or so. I could probably have unmorphed a little bit sooner here to scan this point. I could probably have made the scan if I'd unmorphed just a little bit sooner, so there's, I don't know, tiny time loss. That was the biggest mistake in the segment there, where I just hung up on that splinter. I got caught on the splinter. And that probably cost me a second, maybe 2 seconds. So it is probably the worst mistake in this segment there. This is quite awkward too, because of the way the camera works. The camera can play tricks with you. You scan this point and you have to roll blind backwards through this tunnel along the wall and under the gate before it closes. and just there I caught the edge of the door, and I did it earlier on in this segment as well. It wasn't a good segment for rolling cleanly through doors, unfortunately. This is the 101% Ghetto jump, which allows you to collect the missile launcher without activating the cutscene. It's called the 101% Ghetto jump because if you then activate the I don't do it in this run, but if you then activate the cutscene, the room state resets and the missile launcher, the box containing the missile launcher, reappears, and you can actually destroy it again and collect it twice, which allows you to get 101%, 101 completion percentage. The reason I did that in this run was because I thought I'd need to do it to stop an Emerald Translator gate from appearing, but in fact it proved not to be necessary. These are the Sacred Path scan dashes here, where you stand on the hive there, and again here you do another dash to the left, which is a time saver basically. It saves about, I don't know, 5 seconds, because otherwise you have to scan the post and then use the morph ball cannon and missile the wall to break the wall. But if you can scan dash straight to the door. And the developers tried quite hard in this game to stop us using scan dashes to jump extra distance, but some ways were found to do that. So that's the end of segment 1. So this is the second segment of the run, which basically consists of a boss fight and some rolling. I saved here before the Alpha Splinter fight in the temple because, according to Kip, I didn't bother testing this myself, but according to Kip, this is a free save, because if you don't save here and you just go straight to this door, you have to wait for it to open. Whereas if you save, when you reload from the save, the next room loads immediately, so the save is in fact free. The key to doing this fight quickly is really all about the first round and hitting as many of these Dark Splinters as possible with single missiles and single charge shots. And I think I managed to hit 3 or 4 there with a single missile, which is basically the reason why this segment ended up in the run. Because, as I say, doing this fight quickly is really all about the first round. The other 2 rounds are just all about firing charge shots, basically, and not getting hit, so you don't waste any time recoiling from getting hit. So yeah, there's really very little to say about this fight. You can just sit here and watch me fire charge shots repeatedly at this black thing which is spewing purple goo at me. Yeah, there's no real finesse involved in this fight. It's just you just have to bang away at it. So yeah, hopefully this fight will be over soon, and then I can talk about something vaguely more interesting. Hurrah! So you pick up the Translator module there, which weirdly doesn't actually count for a percent, and neither do the temple keys in this game. Neither the individual area temple keys, some of which I don't collect, or the Sky Temple keys, they don't count for percent, which is weird because in Metroid Prime 1, the artifacts which you have to pick up at the end of the game all count for a percent each, so it's kind of strange that the keys don't count in this game. That is 2% now. I just picked up the Violet Translator. The first percent was the missile launcher I collected in the previous segment. I dick about on the elevator here just because I'm bored. So yeah, having collected the Violet Translator, I'm now off to Aegon. The route for the first kind of part of this run, the route up until Torvus Bog, is, with a few alterations, it's very similar to how you would play the game through in a normal playthrough. It differs from the route used in the any percent speedrun. In the any percent game, you skip the dark suit and don't bother fighting a Morbis, which saves you time. But in order to be able to do that, you need to collect extra energy tanks so that you don't die in the Dark World during the Boost Guardian and Quadraxis fights. So it's not actually possible to do low percent by skipping the Dark Suit. You actually have to collect the Dark Suit in order to be able to survive in the Dark World for long enough with without any energy tanks. So the rest of this segment is really quite boring, frankly. It's just rolling to Aegon, and there's really very little of interest to say about it. So yeah, I'm kind of lost for words, really. It's just a question of knowing what's coming up next and doing it. I spend most of the time in the morph ball form, obviously, because it's faster than the suit form. And in this game, in Metroid Prime 2, you don't get nice things like the L jump that we had in Metroid Prime 1, which allows you to go much faster in the suit form, i.e. unmorphed, than you would go by just walking. But they took out all of the L related extended jumps in this game, much to our considerable annoyance. So we're now at Aegon. One thing you have to watch for here is to remember to keep a missile after the splinter fight so that you can open this door. And there was a mistake there where I just didn't quite jump up to that ledge quickly enough. So that's the end of segment 2. A very boring segment indeed. Okay, so this is segment 3 of the run, which is the first Aegon segment. Sometimes in speedruns this is segment 2, sometimes it's segment 3. It was 2 in Silent Echo's any percent 143 world record. But no matter which segment number it is, it's notorious for being extremely difficult simply because it's so long. Because you go the back way to the Jump Guardian, you use AJ Bolt's trick to go the back way to the Jump Guardian, you don't get anywhere near a save point until you reach the save before Dark Samus 1, which makes the segment very long. Now I need missiles to open a missile door, so immediately I start looking for missiles. I need 5 missiles to open a missile door. This is a Ghetto jump here, which allows you to reach the top of the room much more quickly. There's the missiles I needed, so I stopped looking for them. If I hadn't got them there, I would have had to have reset, I think. There is a faster way to get to the top of that room, which involves 3 very difficult Ghetto jumps, but it's so hard, no one's ever attempted it in a run, and I doubt anybody ever will, because it really is difficult. Just in the room before there, I rolled up the edge of that platform rather than jumping, which is just a kind of style thing, really, because I don't think it does actually save any time. It just looks good. I shoot this pirate here because it gets in the way, and I also do this dash to reach the platform there. You can actually do that from a platform earlier than I did it, but it's much harder. Now that's what I needed the missiles for, was opening that door. If you reach that point without any missiles, then you're screwed basically, and you have to start again. Yeah, that dash can be done from one platform earlier, but as I say, it's much harder, so it would have been quicker if I'd done it earlier. Now, this is the Bomb Guardian fight, which I do using the 2-round strategy after I've just taunted him slightly in Morph Ball form first. You've got to, just kind of tease him a bit before the main course. This is the 2-round strategy, which is quite difficult. It relies on that first charge shot. You have to hit him on the back of the head with it, and it has to be just the right strength. You can't use a fully charged shot. And again, second one, just the right strength on the back of the head, and then fully charged in the face. And if you get the strength just right, you can beat him in 2 rounds. If the first charge shot you fire is too powerful, then it will end the round, and you'll have to then go to 3 or 4 rounds. So it's all about just doing the right amount of damage with that first shot, and then using a fully charged shot for the second shot in each round. Sometimes when you bomb that gate, the camera, well, not the camera, but you unmorph at a funny angle, which is really annoying because you have to turn to face the exit again, which is a waste of time. But it went okay this time, which is a blessing because, as I've already said, this segment is really, really long and difficult. So I'm now off to the Aegon energy controller here, where I pick up the Amber Translator, which is in fact the final translator I pick up in this game because I skip both Cobalt and Emerald translators. So that's the last time you'll see me pick up a translator module in this game. Now there's there's a trick coming up called a roll jump, which was found by Kip. And the roll jump is a distance technique that allows you. It's just coming up. No, it's not this room. It's the next one. Yeah, the roll jump is a distance technique that was found by Kip, and the idea is it abuses a bug that was found by Extra X, where it was discovered that after an instant unmorph, if you can convince the camera. No, it's not in this room either. I don't know the map. If you can convince the camera to give you an instant unmorph, you see it now. Instant unmorph here. And then you can do a jump afterwards, and then a space jump after that as well. And if you combine it with techniques of pressing the L and R buttons, as you would for the scan dashes in this game and the combat dashes in this game, the dash jumps, you can get much more distance than you could with a normal space jump. And I use the roll jump again later on. Now this pirate fight. There's not too much to say about it. The most important things about this first fight are, well, first of all, you can save time. You may have noticed that I shot the pirate right from the doorway, which allows you to get a shot in nice and early. But the other things are, first of all, don't get killed, which is easier said than done when you've only got 99 health, because they're quite powerful enemies. And the other thing is, you'll see me now, I'm walking backwards up this ramp, and the idea is when you land the killer blow, you want to morph and be just in position near this bomb slot, so you don't waste any time. You want to get immediately to the bomb slot, which went okay. You can do that just slightly better. Could have been done maybe a second faster. If you watch Silent Echo's run, his any percent run, he does it faster than me. Now this trick was found by a true diehard gamer. Normally you have to bomb 3 of these bomb block things, but if you can kind of work your way along the wall there, reach the final one and only bomb the final one, and that allows you to activate the portal here without having to bomb all 3 blocks, which is great because it takes ages. It takes like a minute or something, even more than that, to bomb all 3. So only having to bomb the final one, that's really good. It is a big time saver, and it's not that hard once you've got the hang of it. So this is the first proper trip into the Dark World where you can actually do stuff. The first thing I do is open this gate, because I'll be using it when I collect the Sky Temple keys later on, right at the end of the game. Mr. Potter found that you can, during certain cutscenes in the Dark World, you can let the cutscenes play out rather than skipping them. I should have gone along the top there. I don't know why I didn't. That was a waste of time, and I got stuck there as well. But anyway, if you don't skip cutscenes, you can recharge during them. Now this is the trick by AJ Bolt, where you do a 3BJ there to get up to the basically to go the back way to the Jump Guardian. And then this was found by Sparky, where you can stand on the blade pod there and jump. And what those 2 tricks basically allow you to do is get to the Jump Guardian the back way instead of having to go all the way around. If I had gone all the way around, I would have been able to save, because there's a save point. This is really the reason why this segment is so long. It's because by doing that 3BJ and then the jump off the blade pod and getting to the Jump Guardian the back way, which is much faster, it's about a minute faster. The downside is that you can't save. Now what I'm doing, you may wonder what the hell I'm doing. The answer is I'm actually killing the Jump Guardian, because it was found, this was AJ Bolt again, and it's a great trick. You can just stand here and the Jump Guardian is actually invisible before the fight starts. He's standing in front of that statue, and you can just stand here and pump, I think it's 25 fully charged power beam shots into him before the fight even starts, which is great, because it means that once you've done enough damage to him, you can then just trigger the fight and kill him with a few uncharged shots, which you'll see now. I make a mess of this. He hits me. I should have jumped. What I should have done here is jump now, but because I didn't, he hits me, and so I waste a couple of seconds there. I could have killed him quicker than that, so I recharge everything now while I'm just waiting for this cutscene to do its stuff. Collect the space jump boots. It's possible to skip the space jump boots in this game, but it's very difficult. And again, you can't do it for percent. You have to collect a lot of other items to compensate for the fact that you don't have the space jump boots. Now I'm going back the way I came. This is the way that you're actually supposed to leave the Jump Guardian, but I came this way thanks to AJ and Sparky's the trick that they found. So I'm picking up health here for the next part, which as I said, there are quite a few pirate fights coming up, and as I said, this segment's difficult. It's long and it's difficult, and I don't have any energy tanks, so I need to be well prepared for the fight. So I'll waste even more time here shooting these and getting 10 more health, and then hitting the portal. So I'm pretty much on full health now, but I don't regret doing that because it's you kind of need all the help you can get on this segment under these conditions. It's the cutscene there just reminding me that I can go that way in the light world now, having bombed the thing, and I do use that later on in the Sky Temple key route. I should have morphed sooner there. That was a waste of time. So then you use this morph kind of thing. So having got the space jump, you can now access well, I could in theory have done it before using bomb jumps, but you now want to go this way towards the pirate base in Aegon. Open the gate with a scan there. Now, yeah, as I said, there are some fights coming up which you want to be kind of tooled up for, or as tooled up as you can be in a low percent game. This was messy. That could have been done much more cleanly, so that's 1 or 2 seconds lost there, I suspect. Probably more like 1 than 2. This fight is fairly straightforward. You just have to keep shooting. I missed there, which was expensive. Probably half a second or a second lost. It can be quite dangerous with again, because you only have 99 health and the pirates are quite strong. So if you don't keep dodging, they will kill you quite quickly. And then these turrets are annoying, not because of the damage they do, but because if one of them hits you, you're stunned and you lose about 2 seconds waiting for the opportunity to be able to shoot again. Luckily that didn't happen this time, but I did have to reset on occasion because I was careless and I let one of those 2 turrets hit me. I shot those boxes there just in the second before the cutscene in the hope that they would give me energy stroke missiles, but they gave me neither. The boxes were a bit unfair to me actually in this segment, as you'll see in a little while. Now this is a lot harder than it looks. You've got to do this cleanly. If you don't get through this whole puzzle the first time cleanly, which I did there, without getting hit and without having to wait behind any of those force fields, if you mess it up, the cost is quite high. It can be up to about 2 or 3 seconds. There's a mistake here. I do a dash after killing this guy. I do a dash left straight into the bank of computers there instead of towards this. Now this is a speed trick where you can just jump on the gate there and reach the upper level. There's another way. I think you can do a bomb space jump, which is a trick I haven't talked about yet. It's similar in some ways to the roll jump, but you can do a bomb space jump to the upper level, which is possibly a bit quicker, but it's much harder. So I chickened out and used the gate method. This is Dark Samus 1. Really pointless cutscene. Missile the gate here and mess up the scan like that. That's what you want to do. Just mess up the scan on the pirate. Great job. That wasn't too expensive. That was. I mean, it's difficult to do that cleanly, to be honest. And I wasn't going to beat myself up over not scanning perfectly first time. This is all quite simple. I got hit there, but that's of no consequence. Now again, you can jump on this box to reach the upper level, and I think again there is a way you can do that with a bomb space jump. But once again it's harder, so I chickened out and turned it down. If I'd hit that door immediately, I could have morphed sooner, so that would have been a bit faster, I think. Now this is unpleasant because it's right near the end of the segment, and you do not have the missiles. You need to keep a missile for the next segment, because there's something you need to destroy with one right at the start of segment 4. So killing the pirates is quite difficult because they tend to dodge your charge shots, and you don't have enough missiles to do it all using missiles. I did quite well there. I managed to kill them quite quickly. I'm not sure whether any of my shots missed. I think one of them might have done. Again, after you finish that fight, the important thing is to be in position at the scan point immediately after the fight finishes, which I was. This is another time saver here. Normally you'd have to manipulate these boxes a lot more than I do here, but you don't have to. This final set that I just jumped off there, you don't have to bring them all the way up. You can just bring 2 of them down and then jump. You can still make it to the platform there. It's kind of hard to describe, but you only need to move 2 of them. You don't need to move all 3. This is the worst mistake in this segment, which costs 5 seconds. Now I lay this bomb too soon and just catch the last laser, and that messes up the timing for the whole of the rest of the puzzle, which is really annoying because it had gone really quite well up until this point. I have to wait again here because the timing was all messed up. So I timed this against Silent Echo's world record, any percent, and my traversal of this room was about 5 seconds slower. So that's how much, if you're interested, that's how much that mistake costs, both with the initial mistake and the fact that it messes up the timing for the rest of the room. So finally I can save. Joy. So yeah, that's the end of segment 3. Good riddance. Okay, so this is segment 4. This is a very short segment. It basically just consists of the Dark Samus 1 fight. And really then you just go from there to the save point. The save point is directly on your route, so you might as well use it. There's no real point not using it because it really is pretty much a free save. Now, at the end of the previous segment, I said I needed missiles for something at the start of this segment, and I actually saved after one segment 3 attempt with no missiles, so I couldn't blow that hole in the half pipe, which was really annoying. I had to destroy a turret, and I very quickly decided that I was going to have to do segment 3 again, and actually make sure I'd collected missiles before the end of it. So this is Dark Samus 1. The basic idea behind this fight, all you really need to do is hit the boss regularly and make sure that it doesn't get a chance to use its air attacks, because they're very costly time-wise. This fight took about 40 seconds, I think, which is okay. There have been 1 or 2 instances of people doing it faster, but 40 seconds is about the same amount of time as it took in the any percent run, so I wasn't too disappointed with that. Basically, in the second stage, it can use air attacks on you, which take time, and there's no way to stop them, so they're very costly in terms of wasted time. If you want a real laugh, you can go and look up my 20% run and look at the Dark Samus 1 fight in that. I shoot this box now because I'm after refills from it, and I don't get any, so what I really wanted from there was energy, because I have to do the rest of this segment in the Dark World with no energy tanks, so I really wanted energy and I didn't get any. So in fact I wasted time by going to that box there, but because the boss fight was quite good, I decided that I wasn't going to worry about small things like that. So you take the portal in here and go into the Dark World. Now there's a Ghetto jump here. I think Sparky found this, but I could be wrong, so my apologies to whoever did find it if it wasn't Sparky. But yeah, instead of raising that barrier, you can just do a Ghetto jump off the corpse on the floor. Now I have to collect energy there. It cost me a little bit of time there to change beams so I could collect a 50 energy refill. I also should have morphed a bit sooner than I did when I came into this room. You have to be careful here. If you lay those bombs too close to that Phazon crate, then you die immediately. So you need to lay them on the far side of the door to avoid getting killed. I could have shot those blade pods for more health, but I've got enough to finish the segment now. So there's the save, which is right on your route. So you might as well use it. So that's the end of segment 4. Okay, so this is segment 5 of the run. There are a few things I need to do in this segment. I need to collect the light beam, and then this is where the route in the low percent run deviates from the route in the any percent run, because at this point I need to go and fight a Morbis after I've collected the light beam, whereas in the any percent run the dark suit is skipped. And therefore fighting a Morbis is unnecessary. I also need to collect the keys to enter the Dark Aegon temple for that fight. So those are the things we're going to do in this one. Now this room, Silent Echo in his any percent uses a slightly faster method of doing this room, but I noticed when watching his video that it uses more than 99 health. He loses more than 99 health, so obviously I couldn't use that in this run because I'd be dead. I missed this scan here, which is annoying, because that's not actually difficult. It's actually really easy to get that scan, and I just messed it up. I missed quite a few scans in this run, much to the amusement of Nate at Metroid, who runs Metroid2002.com. Is to think my propensity for missing scans was pretty hilarious, but there you go. I scan dash across this gap off the crystal there, which is faster than jumping across the platforms. I'm not sure how much faster. You can also do it with a roll jump, but it doesn't work that well because of the shape of the platform that you roll jump off. Now this, you can jump and hit the crystal here and then do a Ghetto jump to the right off the wall and reach the thing there with only having to drop one pillar. Now I let this cutscene, that's the light beam I've got now, I let this cutscene play out because this is again Mr. Potter's thing of being able to recharge in the Dark World during some cutscenes. So I actually got, I think, about 10 energy back from recharging during that cutscene, and because cutscenes don't count against your final time, it doesn't. It's actually quicker. Now there's a roll jump. That was a roll jump, but it didn't go that well. I was expecting to go further with that roll jump than I did, so I'm not even sure it was worth doing it. There are a lot of roll jumps in this game that I didn't do because I never really got on that well with them. It's not a trick I find particularly easy. Now, this is the barrier. In the last segment, I Ghetto jumped off the corpse on the other side of this barrier rather than lowering it, but this time I lower it because I'm coming from the opposite direction. It's quicker to lower it than it is to Ghetto off the body on the floor. Now that's the first of the keys I need to access the temple. Which I could have collected in the last segment, but I decided to just leave it because I was coming back this way anyway. The second key, you need to beat the Huntering in here. This is Battleground, in the Battleground fight. I used a new strategy for this. In Sparky's 100% run, he does it by killing all the Ing with a light beam. I do it, as you can see now, by lighting up these beacons. And what you'll find is if you watch the radar in the top left-hand corner, quite a large number of the Ing that appear will commit suicide in those supercharged light beacons. So I don't actually have to kill them all. I can kill 2 or 3 of them, and the rest will just kill themselves. And you can hear them. You can hear the noise they make as they die. So they just kill themselves, and that's it. That's all I have to do, and I get the key. And it's faster. It's about 15 seconds faster, I think, than Sparky managed in his 100%. And actually, it's possible to do it faster, even faster than I did it there. Maybe 5 seconds faster than I did it there, but the rest of the segment was pretty good, so I decided to keep it. So that's 2 of the 3 temple keys I need. You can jump over these vines. You don't need to shoot them. The real enemy in this segment is the Dark World, and I have to stop again here because I'm about to die and pick up a refill. Energy management is a real pain in this segment. You have to be lucky with the refills you get from blade pods to avoid dying. Now I bombed that door rather than shooting it because you have to wait for it to open so you don't lose any time by bombing it. Unmorphing before that portal. If you unmorph too late, it unmorphs you facing the door instead of the portal. So you want to unmorph probably earlier than you think you should, because otherwise you'll have to turn around and it's actually slower. Now this is the section where you have to keep changing beams, you have to keep doing real-time weapon changes. So change again now to the dark beam. To the light beam, sorry. And then when you shoot this door again you have to change beams. So there are certain sections in the run where you have to memorize, as was true for Metroid Prime 1, you have to memorize what doors are coming up next and change beams accordingly. I mean, you can open the blue doors with the dark and light beams, but obviously that wastes ammunition, and this is low percent, so I don't have much ammunition. And every round you waste, you will end up picking up again later when you need full ammunition for something like a boss fight. So again, I tried to do a roll jump there, and it didn't work, but I wasn't too concerned about that because, as I said, most of the rest of the stuff in the segment went quite well. So having picked up 2 of the 3 keys required to access the Dark Aegon Temple, I'm now heading back to this portal which I used before to get to the Dark Aegon Temple in Amorbis, which I will do in the next segment. I'll fight Amorbis in the next segment. So the rest of this is now, I mean, there's nothing particularly interesting happens now. It's all just getting to the temple. Without dying. You'll notice I swap memory cards at the end of every segment so that I can save my progress onto a different memory card, and I had about 6 different memory cards that I used throughout this run. So that's the end of segment 5. Okay, so this is segment 6, which is all about Amorbis. Amorbis is a problem in the low percent game because of light beam ammunition, predictably enough. Amorbis, really you need to do everything against Amorbis with the light beam. And in low percent you don't have enough light beam ammunition to do that. So you have to kind of decide what you are and are not going to use the light beam for. And I need to thank Sparky because the strategy I used to beat Amorbis here was entirely penned by him. So yeah, thanks a lot. And it's a strategy that actually worked really well in the end. I had to redo the previous segment more than once because I didn't save with... I wanted to save with as close to 50 light beam ammunition as I could possibly get. And in fact, near the start of this segment, I shot a blade pod and went, I think, from 47 light beam ammo to 50. So I do actually have now 10 full charge shots with the light beam, which is what this strategy requires. I'm a lot less careful doing the rolling to and from that final key there than I was in the 20% run. And the way I did it there, I had 14 health left by the time I finally reached the temple. I think that's probably about as fast as it can be done. So the idea for Amorbis is to use the light beam, on the airborne forms. That should have hit. That shot should have hit. But and then on this ball form, I used charge missile. Not the head off. I waited there, and I shouldn't have done. I should have gone straight away. so that probably cost me a second. The thing about the ball form, and again here I used a light beam on the two worms. The thing about the ball form is the laser attack. If you don't knock the first head off immediately, then a Morbus will do a laser attack which wastes about 20 seconds. So you need to use the light beam for the first knocking the first head off. You've got to use the light beam for that to stop it from doing the laser attack. So on the second head, I use missile charge, and that's actually the hardest part of this strategy, is getting that missile charge to hit. And then I'm in a position now where, having used missile charge for 2 rounds, I've got enough light beam left to just completely do the rest of the fight entirely using the light beam, including knocking the first head off the final worm stage, the final ball stage, to stop it doing the laser attack. So yeah, it's all about the light beam now. Now I collected an energy refill there. Sometimes I didn't get one, and because of that I shoot this light beacon here because I'm afraid of dying. There were several occasions when I completed this and actually died before being able to pick up the dark suit, just walking through the dark world to the dark suit here. I died a few times there, so I was a little bit paranoid about that. Because I got that energy refill, I didn't actually need to light up that light beacon there, but I did it anyway, so it was probably about a second lost. Now this is how you skip the returning the Aegon energy. If you nullify that light crystal with a dark shot, you can stand on top of it and just leave the temple without having to bother picking up the energy, and the game doesn't stop you leaving. It stops you leaving if you pick up the energy and leave without returning it, or try to leave without returning it. It won't let you do that. But if you never pick the energy up, then it doesn't mind. So the only energy I return in this run is the Sanctuary energy, because you need that to get the light suit. So that's the end of segment 6. So this is segment 7, which is a segment that you'll probably either be really looking forward to or really dreading, because it's the first segment in which I use these things called secret worlds to jump out of the map and manipulate the game actually from outside the map. And there's a whole kind of art and science growing up around doing that. But in this segment, having collected the dark suit, I now need to go. I'm done with Aegon for the time being, and I need to go to Torvus. But on the way, I use secret worlds to pick up a power bomb expansion, which gives you access to power bombs extremely early, and that makes it possible to skip several of the items that I skip in this game. Most notably, the gravity boost, is skipped, or can be skipped if you get this early power bomb expansion. It also allows you to do some other things like killing the boost guardian in one hit, or effectively one hit. So yeah, I'm now just gonna leave Aegon and head back to the temple grounds, so I can pass through the temple and get to Torvus. But on the way in Temple Assembly Site, I will disappear from the map and collect this power bomb expansion. Until that time, there's not really much to say, because it's really just another of these dull segments where I just go from place to place. There is a roll jump that you can do here, and you can see I get an instant unmorph rolling off here. In earlier attempts at this segment, I actually did that roll jump, but I could only get it about half the time. And with the secret world stuff in this segment, and also some of the other difficult things that you have to do, well, not difficult, but not straightforward things you have to do on the way to Taurus, it was costing me too many perfectly good segments, so I left it out. It really doesn't save that much time, if any. It just allows you to get to the door more quickly. So This room, I did experiment with a faster way of getting to the door, which was to jump on the pile of crates and then scan dash to it. But again, it was ruining. It's very hard to get it right, and it was ruining too many segments, so I left it out. So we're now in Temple Assembly Site. You can just roll at that thing, by the way. You don't need to unmorph. This is where the secret world stuff happens. Basically, the idea is you need to find a hole in the map's clipping detection, and there's one. If you ghetto jump to this rock here, you can just jump behind the tree, and there's actually a hole in the map here. You can bomb jump forwards, and then there's a hole there, and we're now actually out of the map, as you can quite plainly see. So I'm going to go over to this blue door here, and there's a power bomb expansion in the next room, which is supposed to need the main power bombs to reach. So I use ether jumps. These are called ether jumps to get on top, to climb up and get on top of the door. Now I strafe left and jump, which loads the next room with the power bomb expansion. Then I shoot the door so that it turns grey, and then I do another jump now, which changes the map. If you look in the top right hand corner, the game now thinks I'm in Temple Assembly Site, whereas I'm actually on top of Dynamo Chamber, which is the next room along. Then I bomb jump up into what's known as the Skywalk, and because the game thinks I'm in Temple Assembly Site, the walls in this room will be glitchy, and I can drop straight through them and collect the power bomb expansion. Now I've got the power bomb expansion. There are 2 power bomb gates in the way, so I can just bomb the first one. Now I need a power bomb refill. Because I shot the door, I can approach the door and come back, and the room unloads, which allows me a clear shot at that crate there. I can collect a power bomb from that crate. The room is still there; it's invisible, so I have to bomb this gate to destroy the invisible power bomb gate there, and then I can just walk up to the door, and I'm back in the map again. There's long been a belief that Secret World stuff is slow, and it sort of is. I mean, it is slow in some cases, but collecting that power bomb takes less than 2 minutes, and it saves. If I were to do that in an any percent run, it would save a lot more time than it cost. The use of secret worlds in any percent runs, and indeed in low percent runs, is a subject of some controversy. Radix, who did the famous 1 hour 37 minute 100% Metroid Prime 1 run, who runs speeddemosarchive.com, has never been keen on allowing secret world assisted runs to stand as records on speeddemosarchive.com, which is fair enough. I mean, it's his site, so his site, his rules. But that's why in Silent Echo's run and in any percent runs on this game in general, you won't see people collecting that powerbomb expansion, because it's explicitly forbidden by certain sets of rules, and they are not techniques with which everyone agrees. But the lowest percentage you could get in this game without them is 21%. The only item you could skip will be Grapple. There's a Ghetto jump here, which is the abandoned base Ghetto jump. That is a Ghetto jump which allows you to skip the dark suit. Normally you'd have to do a great big long puzzle, and the game makes sure that you have to have the dark suit by making sure that you would die if you didn't have it, because of energy drain during the time it takes to solve the puzzle. But if you do that Ghetto jump, you can get straight up to the portal without bothering to solve it, and that time saving allows you to skip the dark suit. There's another Ghetto jump there. This whole section, you're supposed to shoot the blocks with the light beam to move them. That was a bit ugly there. I jumped once more often than I needed to. But in fact, you can do the whole thing without even equipping the light beam. I'm not sure who found that. I'm pretty sure Boost R had a lot to do with it, but you can do that whole section with a combination of Ghetto jumps and jumping to the rail at the end there. So this is the Torvus elevator. So yeah, you don't actually need to move any of the blocks in that section there. So I use this save here in Torvus, which is a fairly cheap save. Destroying those those bats there was a bit of a waste of time. I could have just ploughed through them. Because I was on energy low, I was a bit worried about getting hit by them, but in fact they don't do much damage at all, and I'm pretty sure I could have survived even if all three had hit me, so it was a bit of a waste of time to stop and shoot them. But the rest of the segment was pretty good. Segment 8. There are basically two things that need to happen in this segment. The first is that I have to do a really horrible bomb space jump in Dark Forgotten Bridge. Normally when you reach Torvus, you're supposed to go to Torvus Temple and pick up super missiles on the Emerald Translator. I pick up supers, but not in this segment. I'll do that later, and I never pick up Emerald at all. The other thing I have to do is beat the Boost Guardian and pick up the Boost Ball. Now I use a charged light shot there on those fish things, God knows what they are, because they're a great way of getting ammo cheaply. So I've now got a full stash of Dark Beam ammo, which I will be using in the segment after this one to beat the pirates in Torvus Temple, so I was looking ahead a little bit. But yeah, I'm basically on my way to Forgotten Bridge now, and then I'll take the portal in there to Dark Forgotten Bridge, and I have to do this trick that was found by Kip, which allows you to reach the boost ball without the Emerald Translator or super missiles. And it's quite a hard trick. That room's awkward. It's very easy to get caught on one of those flying thingies, whose proper name I do not know, and they explode if you get caught on one, which can be detrimental to your health. So I just climbed this room and missed the portal. Look at that accuracy, terrible. So that was a second or two lost, and then I lay bombs in sheer frustration. So this is now where it all happens. This is the trick, as I say, originally found by Kip. I do a scan dash here, which is faster to reach this platform. It's much faster than going around. You jump on here, you jump up to the fence, you turn away from the fence, and you look forward, and if you lay 2 bombs rather than just 1, you get more height on the bomb space jump, and it allows you to clear the fence without floating. In Kip's original version of that trick, it's a horrible trick, by the way. In Kip's original version of that trick, you had to kind of float over the fence, which takes about 15 seconds. But if you lay 2 bombs, one on top of the other, and use those to do a bomb space jump, you can get over cleanly in one go. I shoot the puffers in here because they get in the way after you beat the Boost Guardian. You need to use the half pipe. It's easy to hit them, so it's probably better to kill them there. And now this is a bit of fun because I've got an early power bomb. The Boost Guardian, who's normally quite a difficult boss, becomes a joke. I just lay one power bomb and he's dead. And then I jump up and down mockingly, which is always nice. So that gets me the boost ball, and I now need to start collecting the Torvus Temple keys so I can go and fight Chica later. Is that how you pronounce it? I've no idea. Dark Temple keys. So Red Scarlet found that you can unmorph in this hole here and actually jump to the half pipe. You don't need to use the half pipe twice. That half pipe I think I could have done faster. I could maybe have done that using only 2 boosts instead of 3. I got an instant unmorph there, which saves a bit of time. And then I use a save point here. This save point costs about 20 seconds, I think. But the next segment's really horrible, so I kind of felt like I had to use it. So in segment 9, I need to basically finish off in Upper Torvus, which involves collecting the super missiles, but not the Emerald Translator, because that's skipped, and then going to Lower Torvus. and saving in Hydrodynamo. However, this is not as easy as it sounds. First of all, because I have to get back over the fence that I jumped with the bomb space jump in the previous segment. I collect a power bomb refill there, so I can bomb these enemies here, and then I use a bomb space jump again. The bomb space jump works on the same principle as the same instant unmorph principle as the roll jump, allowing you to jump after an instant unmorph. And then I use a scan dash there, which allows me to get to that higher platform and straight to the portal, which is marginally quicker than going the low route, so to speak, through the water. Now there's another dash there to get me to this platform. It's quite easy to hit the missile expansion, which is obviously end of attempt if you're doing a low percent game. One of the problems from here on in is ammunition, specifically missile ammunition, but I'll talk a bit more about that later. I scan this door. It's a bit weird. You may wonder why I do that. And also scan dash to the bridge here. There's a lot of dashing in this segment, which is one of the things that makes it kind of difficult. But I scan that door because in Sanctuary later on, I use the kip dash in watch station access to cross watch station access, and that's normally done with the door already scanned. And while I'm waiting for that door to open, I decide I might as well scan it so I can get a white door pre-scanned so I don't waste time in Sanctuary. Now I use the light beam on the first of those flying pirates because the light beam homes in on its target, which means I can kill the first one quickly. I don't have to wait for it to get close enough for me to be able to hit it with the dark beam, and then everything else I kill using charged dark shots. I accidentally fired an uncharged rather than a charged at one pirate there, but recovered from that fairly quickly, so I wasn't too worried about that. And then I shoot the boxes with the light beam to try and get some of the dark ammunition back. This is why I shot those underwater creatures in the first Torvus segment, to get the dark beam ammunition required to kill these pirates quickly, because dark beam works best against the pirates. So I collect the super missile. I don't collect the Emerald Translator, so to get to lower Torvus, I can't go down that elevator there in the temple, because it requires the Emerald Translator to operate. So I have to go the long way around, which involves going back out here and down and back in again. Now this is where ammunition becomes a problem. I've got 5 missiles and I need to destroy 2 super missile doors one after the other. So I have to destroy the first one and then backtrack. It's really annoying. I have to backtrack to the room I just came from. And the quickest way to get missiles in here, unfortunately, is to shoot the creatures in the water. So I shoot all 3 of them, and the last one gives me a missile. But there were a lot of resets because I was unlucky and didn't get missiles from any of those 3. Also, once I get to lower Torvus, I have to open the save station door. Now this is what I needed the 5 missiles for, is to open this super door. Once I get to lower Torvus, I have to open the save station door with another missile. So it's not over yet. I have to get I made a complete mess of activating that elevator. I have to get another 5 missiles from a puffer in Hydrodynamo Station. So between those 2 things and the dashes and the bomb space jump in this segment, it's actually quite a difficult segment, probably harder than it looks. And I get the missiles, and then I was considering jumping directly to there, but decided against it. So I don't know whether I would have made it, so maybe that was a time loss, maybe it wasn't a time loss, I'm not sure. But I was glad to see the back of that segment, because whether you make it or not is largely unrelated to skill. It's just a question of whether you're lucky enough to get the missiles you need, so not that much fun. Segment 10 is basically all about collecting the Chica Key in lower Torvus without the grav boost. In an any percent game, you collect Grapple as well, as well as the grav boost and the Chica Key. I don't collect either of the 2 main items because I'm skipping both of them So the first thing you need to do is get to the white door, and I use a move called an underwater dash, which was found by Boostar. The version of it I use there was found by Red Scarlet and Sparky, and it's sometimes known as the spin jump. You have to wait just a second for those two puffers there, because if one of them hits you, then you're very dead. And you have to wait for this door anyway, so you don't lose any time by waiting. Now this is a roll jump, one of the few roll jumps I actually successfully managed to do in this run. It's actually quite an easy one to get to the bomb slot, which allows me to use the portal underwater. Now I power bomb the surface of this half pipe. I need 2 power bombs. I need to power bomb it twice to drain Gathering Hall, which allows me to get back out the way I came. But because I've only got 1 power bomb, the best way to do it is to use 1 power bomb on the way there, and then refill your power bombs or your power bomb, and then use another one on the way back. Now this is a Ghetto jump off the laser in Crypt. It's quite a hard Ghetto jump because the top of the laser is the area you can stand on the top of the laser is very thin. Now here I use again make use of the early power bomb to power bomb the yellow hatch at the bottom. This is basically how you skip the gravity boost, because normally the thing the gravity boost is really needed for is collecting this key here, this second Chica key in Lower Torvus, and the early power bomb allows you to go what is essentially the back way. I jump over those vines there. You can jump straight from the key to the first step there, so you don't need to shoot the vines, which is a little bit faster. And you don't need to shoot these either, you can just avoid them if you're quick enough. Now you have to be careful not to get hit by these Ing. You have to be really quick doing this jump to the morph ball cannon, because if you get hit then you have to wait for the attack to stop before you can complete the jump, and it can cost you 4 or 5 seconds. This dash jump now, I need to do a dash jump to get back to the white door, which I do off the grapple point there. I spent some time setting that jump up, which obviously was fairly slow, but it's kind of on the limits of what a dash jump is capable of in terms of range. Now I caught those vines there boosting up through that tunnel, and I come very close to dying, and in fact my first 2 shots there to try and hit that cache missed, so I actually went down to 1 energy at that point, and I was lucky to survive, quite frankly. Boosting up through those tunnels with the vines is always a bit of a dangerous occupation, but you kind of have to do it because the speed gain is pretty huge. But if you hit a bump, then you will smack into a vine, and the chances of surviving are quite low, because the energy is really tight in that Dark World section. This is where I use a power bomb I collected from those caches to drain the room, and I can now escape using the boost ball on the half pipe. I could have done that in 2 boosts. It took me 3, so that was a bit careless, and will have cost me a bit of time. So use the morph ball cannon, get to the white door, and then now I just go back to Hydro Dynamo without bothering with the gravity boost or the grapple beam. And that's really all I need to do in Lower Torvus. There's a mistake here. What I should have done, as I boost past that scan point, what I should have done was spend a couple of seconds scanning that scan point. This was actually a kind of not planning ahead properly kind of error, because later on when I collect the Sky Temple keys, I have to scan that post, or the route I chose to take needed me to scan that post and open up the Alpha Blog room at the bottom of the room there to get to the Power Bomb Guardian. So I should have scanned it there. What I end up doing is activating the Screw Attack Underwater glitch in that segment, which makes it easier to get to the scan point, but it still would have been faster to scan it there and then. So that was a mistake which costs some time, probably 5 to 10 seconds. Now I use a bomb space jump here to get to the white door. I used 2 bombs there, and I could have made do with 1. So yeah, that cost me some time. I used 2 bombs, one on top of the other here, in the same way as I did for the Dark Forgotten Bridge bomb space jump, and it just provides you a little bit more height, and allows you to get up that piston quicker. it may be possible to not use that morph ball puzzle. It may be possible to do it using a bomb space jump, but I'm not sure. Now this is a freeze dash I do. I fully scan that feature on the tree and use a freeze dash to reach the platform in the middle, rather than the R dashes I've been doing so far. Freeze dash is sometimes called a kip dash, after Kip, unsurprisingly. I found that the angle using a freeze dash was much more reliable, and I could get to the platform in the middle much more reliably than I could using an R dash, so I took the slight time penalty. There's another R dash there using that feature to get to this platform. I need 5 missiles to super that door. Sometimes I didn't have them, which was very annoying. So now I'm backing up at Torvus. I'm on my way to save before Chica. I need one more key. One more key to open the Dark Torvus Temple. Now that's a bit dodgy. It's quite easy. If the camera moves inside the morph ball tunnel there, you can fall off very easily. I scan dash to this key. If this were the NTSC version of the game rather than the PAL version of the game, there's another way you can reach that key just by jumping on an in-cache near one of the doors. But it actually turned out to be one of the few version differences between the NTSC and PAL version of the game in terms of gameplay, was that they removed that cache. Developers realised that you could get the key without grapple. Now, I needed a missile there from those caches, and I was lucky because I got one from the third one. There were several occasions when I got to the end of the segment and did everything perfectly, and couldn't get a missile from those caches near the door, which meant end of segment, which was very annoying. Segment 11 is basically about beating Chica, and then collecting the Dark Visor. The Dark Visor in this game can't be skipped because it's required to reveal and destroy the caches that contain the Sky Temple keys at the end of the game. So in that respect, it's similar to the X-Ray Visor in Metroid Prime 1, which couldn't be skipped for the sole reason that it's necessary to damage the Omega Pirate. You can't damage the Omega Pirate without the X-Ray Visor in the first game, and you can't even see the caches that hold the Sky Temple keys without the Dark Visor in this game. These 4 targets I choose to destroy with the charge beam. It will be quicker to use missiles, as is done in the any % run, but I prefer to make sure that I've got missiles for the first stage of the fight, because having supers is extremely useful. I do the scan there so that you can lock onto the weak point in Chica's chest. You can shoot when Chica emerges from the water here, but it doesn't do that much damage. The real damage is done when you attack its weak point. So if you use a charge shot the first time it pops up, and then a super missile the second time, if I was to use a super missile first time, then it wouldn't come up for a second wave. It would go down and just go back to this form if I used a super missile without using the charge beam for the first round. So you can actually do more damage if you do charge super rather than just super. Now this first round wasn't perfect. For this phase here, you're best off using charge shots. I'm saving all my dark and light ammo for the adult stage. But if you use a partially charged shot there on the chest, you can then follow it up. You've got enough time to follow it up with a super. And I'm not sure where I first saw that. It was either in Kip's hard low % run, or in Radix's any % 211. I'm not sure which, but that strategy was first used. So this just kind of continues as before, but I do make one mistake. I think it might be now. Yeah, I missed the weak spot, so I didn't do massive damage. I only did some damage because there's a thud that you can hear when you hit the weak spot of Chica, which didn't occur there. And it, of course, would have been better if I'd had 5 missiles for that wave. so I could have used a super. But I wasn't too concerned about the individual stage times. What I was concerned about was the overall fight time. And even though the first round wasn't so great, I got a good second round. For this fight, I had a time target, and I can't remember exactly what that time target was. But I wanted to beat Chica in both rounds in under a certain limit that I'd set myself, and I just took the first segment where I managed that and successfully completed the segment. So it's not perfect. This is one of the fights that could have been faster, but I finished it off there. If I'd hit the weak point on that round, I could probably have finished it a stage sooner. Now for the adult stage, I start off by using the power beam, and I miss with one charge shot. You can time it when it does its dark water attack there. You can time a charge shot so that you hit it, which I managed to do successfully second time round. I start off with the power beam to conserve dark ammunition. Now, one of the reasons I decided to keep this segment was that I ended the first phase with 5 missiles, which puts much less strain on your ammunition requirements for this round and makes the second round, even though it makes the first round slower, it makes the second round much faster if you can come into it with missiles. Basically because destroying the wings is far easier. In the 20% run, I did nearly all my work on Chica using uncharged power beam shots, sometimes called P shots. This time I make much heavier use of the dark and light beams. You can see I used a light beam there rather than missiles to attack the wing because I was out of missiles, and I'm going to do that again here. But I can afford to do this because I made a decision before attempting this fight that I was going to, rather than trying to do the whole fight with one set of ammo as I did in the 20% run, I decided that I was going to recharge from the, I think they're called chicklings, the little minions that Chica releases now in fact. I stall this shot, I charge this light shot and wait until it releases those chicklings and then finish it off. So I shoot these things with both beams to get me an appreciable amount of both dark and light ammo and some missiles. The chicklings mess me up a bit here, they get in my face and slow me down a bit, but I managed to get the dark beam going again, and we're back on schedule, so to speak. So really this is now, after killing the dark adult form once, after it sucks up the dark water, the second round is just the same as the first. Or the second sub-round, I should say, it's just the same as the first. It's just use the missiles until you run out of missiles, use the dark beam to stun it. If you get in there quickly with the dark beam, it doesn't move. It's quite hard to hit when it's moving about, which is why I use the power beam. One of the reasons I use the power beam first off, rather than the dark beam. But you can see there quite clearly that after stunning it, it stands still for some time as it turns around, and you can quite easily stun it again. Now I have to use the light beam for the final shot because I'm out of missiles. But I've got 45 light ammo. Because I recharged halfway through the fight, I now have 45 light ammo, 44 light ammo, which is easily more than enough. And as you can see, two dark ammo left. I judged the dark ammo usage quite nicely there. So it's all over now. I just shoot the sack on its tail there 4 times, and that's the end of the fight. So now I have to go just pick up the dark visor. Once again, this is a situation where you're supposed to collect the temple energy from the energy controller and then return it to the temple in the light world. But again, you don't need to bother, as we did for Amorbis. It's not necessary to do that. Now, one interesting question here is, should I have done this fight using floaty jump? Because Kip found a glitch called floaty jump, which allows you to jump much higher if you stand in the dark water when the fight starts as you destroy the final target. This is, I'll go back to that. This is just boosting around the back of the bomb slot there. What that does is causes the temple to reload, and basically that's how you are able to get out without collecting the temple energy. You could just go around the back of the bomb slot and the room will reload, and it lets you out without collecting the energy. In a similar way to how I used a nullified light crystal to escape the room in the Amorbis fight. But the floaty jump glitch if I'd activated it, I could have and kept it for the fight, which is quite difficult because you lose it if you fall in the dark water. Then it would have made the trip up the platforms to the energy controller quicker. But I didn't do that in this run. But it probably would have been a bit quicker if I had done. Segment 12 is interesting from the perspective of kind of route planning. It's on the face of it not a particularly interesting segment from the point of view of actually watching it, because all I really do is start in Torvus and make my way to Sanctuary Fortress via the temple grounds to pick up the Seeker missiles, which I need for one or two things in Sanctuary Fortress. There's a big, I mean, this was really the big question mark regarding what to do about the route in this run, because there are essentially two choices for getting to Sanctuary Fortress from Torvus. You can either go the normal way, which would be to go through GFMC compound and well, I say the normal way, it's almost the normal way, to go through GFMC compound and take the front entrance to Sanctuary and cross the bridge. The alternative is to go via Aegon Wastes. I can use the early power bomb expansion to open the power bomb door in Sand Canyon, or just off Sand Canyon, and reach the elevator that leads to the side entrance to Sanctuary. Now these two options both have their advantages and disadvantages. First of all, I should mention that if you wanted to go to Sanctuary the front way under these low percent conditions, you would have a problem with two Emerald Translator gates. The first of these Emerald Translator gates is actually in GFMC compound itself. Now that gate isn't a problem because of the 101% Ghetto jump that I did in the first segment, which, as I mentioned, I think the Translator gate never appears because the cutscene never plays out. It's the cutscene that puts that gate there, and if you never activate the cutscene, which you can do with the 101% Ghetto jump, the gate doesn't appear. So for all intents and purposes in this game, that gate doesn't exist and it's not there, so it's not a problem, provided you do that Ghetto jump in the first segment. The second gate, which blocks access to Sanctuary via the front way, is in Grand Temple. Normally you'd actually pass through the temple itself and take one of the doors in there protected by the Emerald Translator to get to Sanctuary Fortress. Now you can't go that way, obviously, because I've skipped the Emerald Translator, so the alternative is to use the early powerbomb expansion to destroy the powerbomb doors either side of Grand Wind Chamber, and by doing that you can go from Path of Eyes, I think it is, to GFMC compound, and from there you can then go to Sanctuary using the front entrance. Now there are advantages and disadvantages to both these methods. I'll just break off here and just mention that for this Seeker puzzle, you can save a bit of time here if you lay a bomb just before finishing each spinner. You can lay a bomb before while you're still spinning each spinner, and provided you finish what you're doing before the bomb explodes, you save time waiting for the bomb to explode by laying each one slightly before you finished, and you can save 1 or 2 seconds on the whole puzzle if you lay the bombs to get out slightly early. I think everyone's done that in the runs that we've seen on this game so far. But yeah, the two different ways to Sanctuary. If you go the front way, the problems you have are that, first of all, you have to go through more rooms in Sanctuary. You have to solve various you have to spin various spinners and scan things and solve various puzzles, and you also have to fight a load of pirates on the bridge to actually get into Sanctuary that way. If you go via Aegon, it's much faster. That was a mistake there where I boosted straight into the wall. If you go to Aegon, you skip all those rooms, so you don't have that problem. But the problem then is, if you go via Aegon, the front Sanctuary exit remains closed for the remainder of the game. You can't open up Sanctuary from the inside out. You can only open it up from the outside in, going that way. So by going to Sanctuary via Aegon, although it seems faster initially, when you go to collect the light suit, you can't go the normal way out of the front exit and to Temple Grounds via the front exit, which is probably a little bit slower. It also means that you don't have the front entrance or exit to Sanctuary available in later on when you have to clean up the Sky Temple keys, and there'll be one key in Sanctuary which I still have to collect after having left Sanctuary the first time, so I have to go back to Sanctuary. In the end I decided to go to Sanctuary via Aegon, mainly for simplicity purposes. I don't know, over the full course of the game, I don't know which of these two decisions would be faster, whether to go via the front entrance or the side entrance. There are a lot of different factors to take into consideration, and there is kind of no clear way of knowing which in the long run would be faster. I think the only way you could know would be actually to run the whole second half of the game twice, which there's no way I was going to do that. So yeah, in the end I plumped to go this way. We're of course now in Aegon Wastes, and I'm about to use, this is Sand Canyon, use the Morphball Cannon to cross Sand Canyon, and then having done that, I can go through here and use the power bomb door. You have to wait just there. If you boost, you can boost through that guy, but you'll end up going straight past the entrance, so I think it's better to wait just there. So here's the power bomb door. This is the side entrance, which in the end I chose to use, but that does mean, as I mentioned, that the front entrance to Sanctuary remains closed for the rest of the game, which means to get the light suit I have to come back this way, and also means that going from Sanctuary to Temple Grounds in the Sky Temple Key route is now no longer an option. So in the Sky Temple Key route, in the end I had to go from Torvus, the training chamber elevator in Torvus, to Sanctuary, and from Sanctuary to Aegon, and collect the keys in that order, which I think is slower. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's slower than the route that Silent Echo used in his any percent. I picked up a power bomb refill there just so I could power bomb that glass tube. Now I choose to do this part of Sanctuary. I take this portal here and choose to do this part of Sanctuary in the Dark World rather than in the Light World. I was initially going to do this in the Light World, but I realised that the next few segments will be made much easier if I did this in the Dark World instead, and then made use of the Seeker puzzle in Hive Dynamo Works. If you solve the Seeker puzzle in Hive Dynamo Works, this is the elevator in the Dark World here, which has an analog elevator in the Light World. If you solve the Seeker puzzle in Hive Dynamo Works, it opens up a portal, which is very useful over the next few segments, and it will be very difficult to do without. Now this is it here, where I solve the Seeker puzzle, where you go 1, 2, 3, 4, press L to lock onto the final one, release, and then fire. And if you do it right, then the game first of all opens this portal here, which I'm now taking, which I will make extensive use of in the next few segments. And the other thing it does is teleports you across the gap there, although there are at least 2 other ways to cross that gap. You can scan dash across it, you can roll jump across it, so that wasn't the primary aim of the exercise. The primary aim of the exercise was to get that portal operational. Ghetto jump there, which was one of the kind of first pseudo sequence breaks found in the game, allows you to get over that fence without needing the spider ball or without using the spider ball track there. You can just ghetto jump off the slant in the wall. Now this puzzle, I use an alternative solution to this puzzle to the solution that's been used in all the runs so far. This solution was proposed by Skippy Jr. And it involves 3 gun repositions rather than 4. Now unfortunately I make a total mess of it and miss twice, so I should probably apologise to Skippy Jr. for making a complete hash of his brand spanking new solution to that puzzle. Not that it's really any faster to do it that way, but it was just a new thing, so I thought I might as well use it. But it is a shame I kind of made such a mess of it, but in terms of time it wasn't that expensive. So after a lot of waffling and general boring blab during this segment, I finally saved in Sanctuary, and the next segment should hopefully be a bit more interesting because it's the Grand Abyss segment where I skip the grapple beam. So I'll tell you all about it then. Segment 13 is in many ways the showpiece of this run because it shows off a new method of getting across Grand Abyss to collect the screw attack without needing the grapple beam. The grapple beam skip previously has been done by doing a roll jump off the barrier in Grand Abyss onto a robot, and then riding the robot to the other side of the room. And it's a trick that's absolutely notorious for its difficulty. It's easily the hardest trick in the game. Now, I attempted to do the roll jump about 260 times, and in the end I was getting desperate, and I started investigating other ways. And Sparky suggested I might try using a dash jump to reach the robot. So I tried that, and in the end I got it to work, and I think it's much easier than the roll jump because I managed to do it 6 times, and I've never managed to do the roll jump successfully. This is watch station access. This is the kip dash to cross watch station access the wrong way, which is probably the most famous sequence break in the game. Red Scarlet was extremely irritated that I didn't use her boost roll jump method of crossing that room, which we've tended to call the Strawberry Express for historical reasons. So yeah, I need to apologise to Scarlet because she was very angry with me when I didn't do that the way she wanted me to. I waste a missile there, I'll come back to that later. This is the dash jump to reach the robot. You have to get right on the end of the barrier and then wait for this robot to pass under the rock formation, and then dash and bend the dash forwards as far as you can by moving the stick to forwards. And when you press R to freeze the momentum for the dash, you need to do that later than you probably would for most dashes in order to give the forward bend that you put on the dash enough time to take effect, because otherwise you'll hit the wall behind the robot instead of landing on the robot. But I do think it's much easier than the roll jump is. Now this room, I take my time over this. You can see I spent a while lining up this dash. This dash is very difficult to reach this first spinner, and because Grand Abyss is so difficult, even with the new method, it's still very difficult. I took my time over everything I did in this room so there wouldn't be any mistakes. So a lot of the stuff in here could have been done faster. This whole room, whole segment could probably have been done at least 10 seconds faster, but I didn't want to make any mistakes. If you watch Silent Echo's any % run, you can see that because of the nerves, after he crosses Grand Abyss with the roll jump, I mess up that spinner there. It doesn't suck me in properly, so that was a slight waste of time. Silent Echo's version of this room is horrible because of the nerves he had. He missed that first dash 3 or 4 times. The res bits in here are also quite dangerous when you've only got 89 health. That attack there, that Gatling attack, is very dangerous. Now, I mentioned that I wasted a missile earlier on, and I just got a missile refill from that final res bit, which is very lucky, because I need to hit a seeker target at the beginning of the next segment, and I need missiles for that. This scan dash here, again, is quite difficult, but you don't need to make it to the platform, you just need to hit the platform and the game will respawn you automatically on the target platform. I also make a mistake with this boost. That was supposed to land me on the upper platform, so I waste some time here jumping to it and bombing this slot, but after all that nerves and crazy nonsense, I managed to finally get my hands on the screw attack, and now I head back to the save point like a dingbat because I couldn't really do anything else after the difficulty of this segment. This is always quite worrying. You just always fearful that you're going to make a mistake getting back to the save point. But the missile thing, I wasted that missile earlier in this segment, so that when I kill the final res bit, I killed 2 res bits in that room. When I kill the final one, sorry, 3 res bits in that room. When I kill the final one, I have no missiles left. And the idea is if you have no missiles left, I exploit this a few times, but if you have no missiles left, it increases the chances that the game will give you a missile refill when you kill an enemy. And I need well, full missiles at the start of the next segment to hit a seeker target, and I actually had to redo this segment once because I saved without any missiles, which was incredibly annoying given how difficult the segment is. So after that, the fun of that segment, I'm now saved and I'm ready to go and fight the Spider Guardian in the next segment. Now I've got the screw attack. Segment 13 was all about skipping the grapple beam by jumping on the robot in Grand Abyss. In a similar way, segment 14 is all about skipping the Cobalt Translator, and segment 15 is all about skipping the Annihilator beam. So there's a kind of a correlation between segments 13, 14 and 15 and skipping Grapple, Cobalt and Annihilator. The Cobalt skip requires you to use secret worlds to bypass the Cobalt gate, and indeed for the Annihilator skip, I'll be using secret worlds as well. Once you've collected the screw attack, secret worlds become a much more useful technique because of a bug in the screw attack's clipping detection. This is the Seeker puzzle that I said I needed. If you remember, I said I needed some missiles from the res bit at the end of the previous segment, which I had to get to activate that puzzle so I could kill the quad quickly, because otherwise you have to kill it manually and it takes a long time. I also pick up a power bomb refill here because I'll be using that to get to the Sky Temple key after beating the Spider Guardian. But I mentioned that the screw attack was a useful, because of a bug in the screw attack, it's a useful technique for entering secret worlds, and you'll see that now as I screw attack into this robot leg, which if you get just right, you will end up inside the leg, and then you can kind of hold L and wiggle the stick and actually force yourself through the wall of the temple. So I'm now under the floor of the temple, and what I'm going to do is climb the temple wall from outside the map and bypass the Cobalt gate that I'm supposed to collect the Cobalt Translator to get past. So you just bomb jump up the walls of the room. If you release the stick to center as each bomb goes off, rather than pushing forwards all the time, it makes this jump much quicker. This climb much quicker. So once you've reached a certain height, you unmorph, and then the Cobalt gate that I'm trying to get past is just to my left here. There it is. And I work my way onto the top of it, and then bomb jump over it, onto it, and then from there I can just jump to the door, and then as I did in segment 7, I strafe to the right and jump, which makes the next room load, and then I can just morph and fall off the door. And because the game thinks I was in this room, the terminal fall applies, and I'm caught by the terminal fall as I fall off the door, even though I'm outside the map. And that's quite a useful way of getting back into the map, which I'll be using again in segment 15. Now the Spider Guardian fight, which I've now reached without collecting the Cobalt Translator, this fight could have been done better. It's not the high point of the run, unfortunately. I always had trouble with the Spider Guardian in low percent, but I think this fight is better than the one in the 20% run. The first kind of mistake is here where, well, not mistake, but thing that didn't go quite right. You can hit him. You can get him to turn green with those two passes across the room. Now I didn't do that, so I have to make a third and a fourth pass because I didn't hit him with enough bombs on the first two passes. So that wastes some time. That could have been done quicker. He also hits me here, and I have to get out of there quickly and bomb jump. If I'd missed that bomb jump there, then I'd be dead by now, because each hit does, I think, 30 damage. So that round wasn't particularly good, and this round I make a mistake on as well. I boost up and managed to get onto this platform and hit him, but then I tried to do a double bomb jump up to him so I can hit him again, but I don't come far enough to close enough to the camera, so I ended up hitting the platform there, and in the end I just give up and drop off and lay some more bombs, rather than trying to get up to where he was. And then I wait up here and lay some more bombs again, which allows me to get to the bomb slot. So that round could also, unfortunately, have been done much faster. And then this boost wasn't good either. It took me longer to boost up to the top than it should have done, which means that I have to wait here. I can't boost through him because I've only got 29 health. So I have to pick up energy refills from these crates. Then I can boost through him and lay bombs and start the final round. The final round goes okay. There is one point where I'm a bit scared because I've not got much health. I think it's now, yeah. I need to get on the other side of him, but I wait here until he's in this position before boosting through him. I could probably have boosted through him earlier than that, but I was afraid of getting hit twice, which would have been fairly catastrophic. The reason this fight isn't the best, or isn't as good as the ones you'll see in the any % runs, are first of all because you have to do 2 difficult pieces of secret world abuse either side of the fight, which increases the difficulty of the segment as a whole substantially. That was a mistake there as well, bombing through that gap. And the other reason is because it's a low % game and you only have 99 energy. If you watch Silent Echo's any % run, he loses 2 or 3 tanks on this fight because he's always charging through the Spider Guardian, which obviously isn't an option for me in this low % game. But anyway, finally, after much wailing and gnashing of teeth, I managed to beat the Spider Guardian. So now there are 2 things left to do. The first is to collect the Sky Temple key, which is behind that powerbomb door, which I can do in this run. I couldn't do it in the 20% run because I didn't have an early powerbomb expansion. But because I've got the early powerbomb expansion, I can go and get that key now, which is good because it saves a substantial amount of time compared to getting it later. The second thing I have to do is get out because the Cobalt Gate is still in the way. And the only other way to get out is to use an entrance which unfortunately has a missile expansion in front of it, which, this being low % I can't collect. So this is the first of the Sky Temple keys. That screw attack I just did across the room, if you haven't seen that before incidentally, and you didn't notice, you need to jump on the lip of the morph ball tunnel there to cross to get enough height to reach that platform with a screw attack, rather than using the spider ball. What I'm doing here is a little bit weird. I mentioned I had to get back out without going past the Cobalt Gate and without collecting the missile, the expansion that's in the way. So you need to use Secret Worlds again, and what I actually did there is I went through the portal and then back through the portal again, which might seem like a strange thing to do in a speedrun, but there is a good reason for it. The reason is because it resets the state of this room, which means that or of the next room rather, this room, which means that when I enter the secret world using the screw attack, as I'm going to do now, I can use the terminal fall in this room to position me on the other side of the fence, because that is the default setting for the terminal fall in this room, so that the terminal fall here spawns me on the other side of the fence. If I hadn't gone back through the portal, then it would have just spawned me up on the platform near the Sky Temple key, which is obviously no use, because I'm still behind the Cobalt Gate. So I had to go back through the portal to reset the room state, to allow me to use the terminal fall to cross to the other side of the fence, which is the easiest way that I could find to get out of the Spider Guardian area without collecting the missile expansion and without using the Cobalt Gate. If you watch my old 20% run, I actually did that a different way, but the way I did it this time is much faster. So that's the end of that segment. It wasn't the best segment in the run, but I've managed to collect the spider ball without needing the Cobalt Translator, and I've got one Sky Temple key. So in the next segment, I'll be collecting the Temple Energy without fighting Quadraxis or collecting the Annihilator Beam. Segment 15 is the main, it's the longest Secret World section of the speedrun, during which I perform the pair of wall crawls that were pioneered by Master Z, with a few alterations for speed that I used to bypass Quadraxis in the Dark Hive, the Dark Sanctuary Temple, the Hive Temple, and allow you to collect the Temple Energy, the Sanctuary Temple Energy, without fighting Quadraxis, and therefore without collecting the Annihilator Beam. I think that this pair of wall crawls, I take damage deliberately there, by the way, while I'm waiting for the door to open. I walk backwards into that bamboo there, deliberately take damage. The reason for that will come obvious in a second. But I don't think this is any slower than actually fighting Quadraxis in a low % game, from the indications I've got. But anyway, first thing is to get into the secret world, which I do by jumping on the Ying. Now that's a problem in itself, because the ing's only there in the right place in about 1 in 4 attempts. So 3 out of 4 attempts you have to reset. Then I need to load this room, which I do by strafing and jumping as before, but you need to hit a specific bump on the wall, so that's quite difficult. Then I bomb jump and unmorph onto here. There's a standable point just there, and then you can jump again onto the edge of that wall there, which also has a standable point, and load the next room. Now I have 4-3 energy there, and I get an ultra refill. The reason I took that damage earlier on was deliberate, so that I would get an ultra energy there rather than some other type of refill, and be able to get my energy all the way back up to full. Now I jump on this clockwork thing here, which is quite a kind of glitchy jump, and then over the wall to the door, and then jump again and load the temple. And then you need to jump away from the temple, and you need to be careful that the game doesn't switch the map to the room you just came from. You need the map to be on the temple, and you need to get far away enough from the walls of the temple that you don't fall down, because you need to, if you get too close to the room, you'll fall to the standard of the room, so you need to get some distance away. And then once you're in this position, you can just strafe all the way around the walls of the temple. You can see Quadraxis quite clearly in the middle of the room there, asleep and deactivated. So you skip Quadraxis by going around the outside of the room. Then I use an ether jump there, as I did in segment 7, and again as I did in segment 7, I use the fact that the game has the map set to the temple to glitch through the roof of the energy controller access room there and get back into the map. So now I'm at the energy controller without having fought Quadraxis or collected the Annihilator beam, and I can pick up the energy. There it is, the Hive Temple energy. Now this was the worst mistake in the run, trying to get into this secret world using the screw attack, and I failed to make it 3 times. And the problem is that these mistakes, which cost about 8 seconds in total, I'll make it on the 3rd attempt, these mistakes, which cost about 8 seconds in total, actually cost you twice, because you need to recharge energy in the safe zone, the only time I do it in the run, and it's not avoidable, unfortunately. I just stick to that wall there and kind of move, wiggle across it, and I do the same to this wall here, which is kind of awkward because it's a bit glitchy, but it's probably the best way of getting across the room. So I floated just for a second there in the safe zone to give me a bit more height, and then I now jump on top of this door and load the temple, which takes a few attempts. And then having loaded it, I walk to this safe zone here, and I had to stop in this safe zone because I needed a cigarette. No, not really. You need to recharge some energy in order to be able to make the trip back without dying from Dark World exposure. If I had more energy tanks, this wouldn't be a problem. I wouldn't need to do this. So I need to stand here for a short while. But this is why those mistakes cost me twice, because I'm healing here for 10 seconds longer than otherwise I would have had to have done due to the Dark World exposure. So that was probably the worst mistake in the run. But nevertheless, this is the fastest I ever managed to do this segment, despite completing it multiple times. So I took it in the end, even though it wasn't perfect. Now I need to do another jump here onto this door, and the time's ticking away, so you need to be really quick. Load the next room and then jump forwards and away. And again, you need to make sure you don't get too close to the walls of this room, because if you do, then you will fall again to the standard of the room, which is like comparatively hundreds of feet below the room, and you wouldn't stand a chance of getting back up. But you can't go too far away from the walls because there's a time limit. And I recharged in the safe zone there until I had 86 energy, which is just about as fine, I think, as you'd want to cut it. You can move across the ceiling here, and there's a little clunk there where you touch down on a standable point. You can then jump to the door, load the next room, and then just use the terminal fall. You need to save 10 health for the terminal fall there. There is a way to get in without using the terminal fall, but I could never get it to work, so I had to heal for that extra time in the safe zone. And then I pick up an energy refill there with about 5 health left or so it's pretty tight energy-wise, which is why I had to heal in the safe zone there at the far end of the energy controller access. I did one too many screw attacks there as well. Shouldn't have done that, so that cost a second or two. Now I'm using this portal to get back into the light world. If in segment 13 I had opened up the portal in aerial training site, between aerial training site and watch station, I could have skipped this trip to and from this portal in Judgment Drop and Grand Abyss, But because segment 13 was the Grand Abyss grapple skip segment, which is hard, very hard, I decided that I would use the portal in Judgment Drop instead, which adds probably another 40 seconds onto the segment time, although that would be offset slightly by the time that it would have taken in segment 13 to open the portal. So that was a decision I made based on simplicity rather than speed. It's one of the compromises I just chose to make, to trade off speed against simplicity. Unfortunately, if you don't like it, you can try and beat my time, I suppose. But that's it now. I've got the temple energy, and I'm going to go back and save without collecting the Annihilator Beam and without fighting Quadraxis. And now I'm in a position where I can return the energy and go back to the temple grounds and collect the light suit, which is what will happen in the next segment. Segment 16 is the beginning of the end as far as this speedrun is concerned. This segment and the next 3 segments will be really quite boring, frankly. In this segment I have to return the Sanctuary Temple energy which I collected in the previous segment, and then having done that then enables the light suit. This boost here is quite hard. To do that, to boost cleanly across there and hit the elevator all in one motion is the fastest way to do that, but because of the way the camera points, it doesn't always work out, so I had to reset there if I didn't get that. I do a little dodge from left to right here because the Resbit did its Gatling attack there, which, as I mentioned in segment 13, is very powerful and is quite dangerous when you've only got 99 health. But yeah, this segment I'm going to return the Sanctuary Temple energy. Having returned the energy, that then makes the light suit available for collection. So I'll collect the light suit, and then the other that would give me 16%, and then the other item I need is the main power bombs. You may be wondering why I'm bothering to collect the main power bombs when I already have a power bomb expansion. You might think, well, can't you just use the power bomb expansion for any power bomb doors, etc., that you might need the power bombs for? The reason is that the power bombs, the main power bomb pickup, is required for a Sky Temple key in Dark Oasis in Aegon Wastes, Dark Aegon Wastes. One of the Sky Temple keys, the one in Dark Oasis, doesn't actually appear until you collect the main power bombs. This is excruciatingly annoying, frankly, because otherwise I wouldn't have bothered collecting them, and it would have saved me time, and also it would have enabled me to get 16% instead of 17% for no extra effort. But unfortunately, the developers, we assume the developers set it up as some sort of insurance policy to stop people skipping the main power bombs. But yeah, we don't really know quite why that is. I shoot these crates here and suck in the resulting refills. It's quite weird actually, because they don't catch up with you until you reach the bottom of the elevator there, and you collect them there. But that gives me 99 health, which, and although I do get hit later on in the segment, that gives me enough to do the Dark World section in this segment later, a little bit later, when I'll be collecting one of the temple keys, the one in Temple Assembly Site, or just off Temple Assembly Site. So now I'm taking the elevator to Aegon. As I mentioned earlier on, with the front sanctuary entrance being closed, after returning the temple energy, the only way I can get back to the temple grounds now is through Aegon Waste, so that's where we are now. That boost there is quite difficult. You have to get that right. If you don't get the first boost right, then you will fail to destroy that creature with the second boost, and you'll get caught on it and waste several seconds. So initially boosting into that tunnel You have to get that right, or really you need to reset because you've lost several seconds. That bit there with the bats always looks ugly, but frankly I don't think there's a faster way to do that. You can get an instant unmorph if you turn that corner there more sharply. You can get an instant unmorph, which saves you maybe a second waiting for the unmorph animation. And again, I do that little boost up the left-hand side of that little ramp on the left-hand side there. Again, I don't do the roll jump here, which you can do, but now I've got screw attack. I can screw attack up both those steps. So yeah, it's no big loss really. So this is the elevator back to the temple grounds. And having reached the temple grounds, I will pick up the second Sky Temple key. 7 left to collect. So once again, there's not really a lot you can say about this section. This is the trip into the Dark World now. Now I've got 85 health, which is enough. I think I have about 20 left after this trip. But if I'd taken serious damage or not collected that refill from the crates when I was on the elevator in Sanctuary, then I probably wouldn't make it through this section. It is not that tight, but you do need to have somewhere close to full energy to be able to survive this with no energy tanks. It's a relief actually in a low percent game to finally pick up the light suit. I suppose much as it is a relief in an any percent game where the dark suit is skipped to collect the light suit, because you finally stop losing energy in the dark world. That screw attack over to the key where you shoot it once so it appears and then screw attack into it. I think everyone's collected that key that way in all the runs that have been done. If you break the shell of the in cache there, the temple key cache, without actually collecting the key as you do it, it's okay, because you can always just screw attack. You have to just screw attack back again, and you can always collect the key on the way back if you break the shell of the thing without actually collecting the key. So, but it went okay this time, and I did the whole thing in one go. Again, you can boost up that. You don't need to, or roll up it. You don't need to bother unmorphing and morphing again to get up that little ramp. So we're back in the temple now. And yeah, I'm finally able to pick up the light suit. I could have picked up an energy refill there, but frankly there's no point. Because these guys here don't do much damage. They do, I think, 10 or something, thereabouts. So I knew that even though I was on energy low, they weren't going to kill me. So I finally get the light suit, which, as I said, is 16%. So the only item left now is the main power bombs. The light suit, of course, gives you the ability to warp between areas, so that my search for the rest of the Sky Temple keys will begin in Torvus Bog, as it has done, I think, in most of the speedruns that have been done. The plan is to go from Torvus, Lower Torvus to Sanctuary, and then from Sanctuary to Aegon, and then from Aegon to Upper Torvus, and then from Upper Torvus back to the Temple Grounds, which, with the stuff I kind of have open and available at the moment, seemed to me like the fastest route. But that could have been perhaps improved by going into Sanctuary via the front entrance. I'm really not sure. It seems the best way to do this room is just to jump and screw attack across the whole thing once you've got the screw attack, because it gets you right in front of the door. Although boosting is in theory faster, the floor of that room is very uneven, so the boosts tend not to work very well. Once again, I couldn't use the elevator in the center of the temple to reach the lower section of the temple, so because it's protected by an emerald translator scan. I got another instant unmorph there, which didn't actually save me any time because I had to wait for the door, which is a shame. But yeah, so I have to go to reach Lower Torvus. I have to go out of the temple and then back in again, rather than being able to take the elevator. And once again, I paint a vaguely appealing zigzag pattern on the wall with the power beam. So this is basically the end of the segment now. I just save here. The reason I save here is because in the next segment I'll be activating the screw attack underwater glitch, which is not hard but not easy. So I need a save here to be able to make sure I get that first time. Segment 17 is basically involves fighting the power bomb guardian and collecting the main power bombs, which will finally give me 17%. In order to scan the posts in Hydrodynamo Station to raise the pillar in the center, I need to activate, or I don't need to activate, but it's best to activate the screw attack underwater glitch, which I do now. And as you can see, it turns the water clear, and you can then this doesn't actually affect anything except the screw attack. It just means that you can screw attack from one platform to another, which is very useful because it enables me to reach these two scan points very quickly. It would of course have been quicker to scan the one in front of the white door in segment 10, and I spent quite a bit of time kicking myself. Sparky seemed to think it was hilarious that I'd forgotten to scan the point, or neglected to scan the point in earlier on when I left Torvus, Lower Torvus last time, but never mind. It could have been a lot worse if I hadn't been able to do the screw attack underwater glitch, because that does make reaching the there's a mistake there. In fact, that's the only mistake in the segment. Yeah, it does make reaching the scan point outside the white door a lot quicker. So I go the conventional way to the Powerbomb Guardian, which is to go through the room in which you would fight the Alpha Blog in a normal game, and then spider up the track and take the portal. If you watch Silent Echo's any % run, he actually gets to the Powerbomb Guardian the other way. He gets to it via the exit, by powerbombing the exit. But I go the normal way in this run. So the Powerbomb Guardian fight is basically exactly the same as you would see it done in all other speedruns. I make use of the sticky boost technique that was found by Red Scarlet to jump from track to track, which is a lot quicker than bombing using bombs to jump with. For example, there you could jump upwards quite a long distance by using the sticky boost technique. Basically, the sticky boost, all you need to do that is stick to a track and then spider to the end of it and charge up a boost and release it, keeping the stick held in the direction of the end of the track, and you jump quite a distance, as you can see, when you release the boost. So that's quite a useful way of speeding up the fight. And then another trick, which again has been used in quite a few runs, is this double bomb jump here, which makes it much quicker to get to the top of the room and the power bombs, because otherwise you have to go all the way around the track, which is kind of stupid. So there we go, that's the 17th percent. And really that's the end of the segment. I'm just going to blow this door open and then climb up the stairs. The camera actually turned sideways there, but it really did work in my favour that happened, because it meant I was facing the staircase already and didn't have to turn around. So that was actually a real bonus, because I'd had that happen before in this segment and end up facing completely the wrong way. So I was lucky there that the camera actually was actually nice to me for once. So yeah, I just missile the save station door and save. It's quite a short segment. So the only things I have left to do now in this run are collect the rest of the temple keys, the Sky Temple keys, and beat the final bosses. I'm going to collect. There are 7 keys left. I'm going to collect 4 in this segment. That's 1 in Lower Torvus, 1 in Sanctuary, and 2 in Aegon. And then in the next segment, I'll collect the Upper Torvus key and the 2 that remain in Temple Grounds. Now, I deliberately waste 4 missiles here, and the reason for that is that I want to have an empty missile stock when I destroy these 3 caches, because that dramatically increases the chances that the game will give you a 10 missile refill, which I need for a Seeker door. Now, here, I do another underwater dash, but this time the underwater dash is done forwards. It's not quite like the spin jump that I did last time I was in Lower Torvus to reach the white door. In fact, the way the dash works is exactly the same move, but it's just done forwards rather than sideways. The first time I saw a dash done that way, an underwater dash done that way, was in Radix's 211 run, where he uses that trick to reach the light and dark doors in Hydra Dynamo Station. I do another forwards underwater dash here to reach the bomb slot, and then I use an HBJ variant to reach the slot and activate it. The temptation there is to just use a double bomb jump, which requires 3 bombs and then a 4th bomb to activate the slot. But the variant HBJ method I use there only uses 3 bombs. 2 to reach the slot and 1 to activate it, so it is actually marginally faster than the DBJ method would be. So you have to sit and watch this tedious cutscene for the 6,000th time. Now in Dungeon, this is the Sky Temple key in Dungeon. I use a slightly faster way, a new slightly faster way of doing this room, in that I activate that second beacon there through the fence by shooting the light beam through the fence, which means that by the time you've waited for the first statue to move, the second statue has also moved, so you don't need to wait for the second statue, which is a bit faster than has tended to be done in other runs. The camera, when you pass through the second wall there, the camera can play some really hideous tricks, and I've been known to waste up to 10 seconds trying to get through that second gap in the wall, because the camera can just really be horrible in there. But luckily this time it came off really well and the camera actually played nicely. So that's the key I needed from Lower Torvus. So now I just go back to Hydra Dynamo and prepare to leave for Sanctuary. But I need to use the Seeker door, which is why I needed to ensure that I got a full missile refill. Now there's another underwater dash forwards here. These 2 dashes, underwater dashes in Hydra Dynamo, are purely for speed purposes. You don't need to do them. I didn't quite get that Seeker target cleanly there. Sometimes I was really unbelievably stupid and walked straight into that missile expansion, which is obviously not what you want to be doing in a low percent game. You need to be quite careful here that you don't accidentally hit that kind of decorative metal thing when you're trying to do the screw attack to the bomb slot. Now, if you let that cutscene play out for the length of time I did there, if you skip it immediately, the problem with it is that you end up, the morph ball ends up right under the lip of the bomb slot, and when you try and unmorph, it won't let you. So then you have to move backwards, and when you unmorph, it points you in completely the wrong direction. So it's much better to let that cutscene play out for just a second, and then cancel it, because the morph ball will be further back. And you can then unmorph cleanly and in the right direction. And of course cutscenes don't count against your final time, as I mentioned before, so you can let it play out with no penalty to your final time. So now this is another entrance to Sanctuary. This is the Torvus entrance. You can just boost through those things as I did there, you don't need to destroy them. This room, I think this is main research, this is called. There are a variety of ways to get up to this platform here, but if you have the spider ball, I'm pretty sure that none of them is actually faster than just doing it the way you're supposed to do it, i.e. spidering up the track. I have to destroy these turrets, because I need another power bomb to destroy this power bomb hatch here. And if I hadn't got it, I got one from the second turret. If I hadn't got one, I would have had to have reset at that point, because you need a power bomb for that door. Now I have to solve this puzzle, which is kind of boring and slow. Normally you do this on your first visit to Sanctuary, but because my first visit to Sanctuary was using the Aegon Wastes elevator, this puzzle has to be solved now. Basically what I'm doing here is just crossing Sanctuary from one side to the other. So I'll take the portal into the Dark World so I can collect the key and sit through this cutscene, of which I'm now sick to death. I'll make a mistake here. That morphing and unmorphing there was really careless. Now I did well here to unmorph right in front of this this cache here and collect the power bomb. You need a power bomb from that cache. If you don't get one, then you have to reset, because you need one to open that door. This room. It is actually possible to do a boost off the upper platform onto the platform in the center of the room. If you boost and then unmorph, you can reach that platform, but it's a lot easier to screw attack. It might be slightly faster to boost onto the central platform, but I decided against it. So you just screw attack across here and ride the light beam up. Nothing of any value or interest, really. So that's all the keys in Sanctuary now. The one behind the Spider Guardian room, which I collected earlier, and that one there. I experimented with a variety of ways of getting off that platform and hitting the door. I think the one I used there was probably about the fastest of the few methods I looked at trying there. Now here, there are a couple of different ways of climbing this room. In Radix's 211 any percent run, he climbs this a different way, but I used the technique that Silent Echo used in his any percent run, which is this bomb space jump here to reach the top platform. Out of those two methods, the one Radix used and the one Silent Echo uses, I'm not sure which is quicker, but I found Silent Echo's way a bit easier, so I chose to use it in this run. You have to wait ages for the next room to load here. So now I'm just going back the way I went to leave Sanctuary before, back to Aegon, and then I'll pick up 2 Aegon keys. It's actually very annoying that at least one of the Aegon keys requires light suit. The one that's underwater requires light suit. The one in Battleground doesn't require the light suit. But if neither of them required light suit, then I would have been able to collect both those keys on my way to light suit from Sanctuary. But unfortunately, because one of them requires the light suit, I have to make a special trip back to Aegon now. And because they're within a few rooms of each other, there wasn't really any point in picking the 2 up separately, so I collect both at once. But it is annoying to have to make a specific trip to Aegon just to pick up these keys when I came through this way earlier anyway. Again, there's a set of beam changes you have to memorize here. I experimented with jumping and screw attacking onto that platform there that I just jumped to, but in the end I decided it wasn't worth it. Now I've got a power bomb there, which is handy because if I hadn't got one, I would have had to reset, because this is Dark Oasis and you need to power bomb the wall in order to reach the inside of this room where the temple key is. This is the famous key that does not appear unless you've collected the main power bombs. Which, as I mentioned before, is really very annoying indeed, because it means you have to pointlessly fight a boss and raise your percent by 1 for no reason whatsoever. I shoot these caches now just for a bit more ammunition, and I get another power bomb, which will be useful in the next segment. Now this next room's kind of awkward, because you have to screw attack all the way along. There are some floating invisible platforms here, and if during the screw attack you accidentally come into contact with one, then you'll tend to fall to the ground. I also didn't blow up that cache cleanly, but it wasn't too bad. And then you have to destroy 2 super doors in succession. So I needed to make sure I had 10 missiles at this point, which I usually did, but sometimes that doesn't happen. So I just screw attack here. I'm going to use the save that I used earlier before and after fighting a Morvist. You can just screw attack there to save having to jump across the floor with all the lumps in it. So I have just 3 temple keys left to collect in the next segment. Segment 19 is the final key collection segment, where I pick up the 3 remaining Sky Temple keys, 1 in Upper Torvis and 2 in the Temple Grounds. In my original Sky Temple key route, I collected the Upper Torvis one as the first key immediately after Light Suit, but I realised that the route that I ended up taking would be substantially faster. I do an instant unmorph here onto the lower platform, which is actually quite difficult, but you can, if you get it wrong, you can just reset immediately after it. So you can just keep going until you get that. Now, what I wanted from this blade pod while I was waiting for the door to open was missiles. And I didn't get them. I need missiles to open Seeker doors, so I had to boost into those 3 blade pods there at a slight time cost to make sure that I got the missiles I needed. I should really have reset, of course, but I was getting towards the end of the run now and beginning to get a little bit sick of it, so I decided that was an acceptable penalty there. So I'm going to go through here and take the half pipe, and then open up the Seeker door at the top. Now, I changed beams there, which allowed me to change back to the power beam here and charge a Seeker without having to waste a missile, which is something I do do regularly in this run, because with only 10 missiles after you collect the Seekers, and again I changed beams before using the elevator, so I can change back to the power beam here and again charge a Seeker without having to waste a missile. And you can see I've now got no missiles left, so if I hadn't done that I wouldn't have had sufficient missiles to operate those 2 doors, so it's quite a useful technique in low percent games when you need to use the Seeker missiles. Now we're back in Upper Torvus, and I have 1 key to collect in here. So again I'm going to use the bomb space jump that I used earlier in the run to reach this door, and again I used a double bomb space jump when I could have used a single, but the single is much harder, so I wasn't concerned about that too much. Now previously I did the morph ball puzzle in here, but now I've got the screw attack. I can do another bomb space jump to reach this platform and then just screw attack across the gap, which is much faster than having to use the piston and bomb jump up the platforms there and avoid the plant. Again, you have to be careful not to walk into that missile expansion. It is possible to shoot the portal directly as you jump and the screw attack straight to it, but it has a tendency to go wrong, or when I did it, it had a tendency to go wrong. And I decided that, as I said, because I was getting towards the end, I wasn't going to take too many unnecessary risks, so I screw attacked to the platform instead. Now, there are 4 power bomb doors I have to destroy in this segment. That was the first one. So I start looking now for a power bomb refill, and I get one there. Even though I already have 1 power bomb, I now have 2. And having used that one, I have now 1 again. But there are a couple later on in this segment I need to destroy. You can just keep walking here with the dark visor on and shoot blind, and you will hit the cache, the temple key cache. I should say at this point, you may be wondering why I can move around under the water without the gravity boost. The reason is that once you get the light suit, in dark water only, the game acts as if you have the gravity boost, in that you can move around freely underwater. You can't use the gravity boost, the actual boost facility, but you can move around freely underwater in dark water after you've collected the light suit, even if you don't have the gravity boost. I just shoot a few caches for ammunition and stuff here, and then screw attack to this those platforms there, and then I'm back in the light world. One of the reasons I chose to use this route is that going back to Temple Grounds from Upper Torvus puts you in a much better position to collect the 2 remaining Temple Grounds Sky Temple keys. Originally, no, that was a bit of an ugly mistake, where I got hung up on one of those explosive flying things, whatever they're called. But yeah, to go back to Temple Grounds this way puts you in a much better position to collect the remaining keys. Originally, I was gonna do Aegon. I was gonna collect the Torvus key, the Upper Torvus key earlier, and then return to Temple Grounds straight after Aegon, via the normal Aegon Temple Grounds elevator, but you end up in completely the wrong place to pick up the keys you need, and you're much closer if you come in from this side. Now this is one area where a bit more forward planning would have made the run a bit faster, because I came through this room on the way to Torvus, and if I'd been thinking, I would have shot that block on the way through first time, and then I wouldn't have to waste 4 or 5 seconds waiting for it to move. So I cross Wind Chamber, and this is where I need 2 power bombs. I had to reset many times because I didn't have the power bombs I needed at this point. And you need 2, and the only way you could refill in here, as far as I'm aware, is by killing the flying pirates, which is obviously very slow. So yeah, in this run I needed to make sure that when entering this room I had 2 power bombs. So I'll boost through this tunnel. This is another tunnel that has a bumpy edge to it, so it's difficult to use the boost ball cleanly. Now these 2 crates, I unmorph here eventually and shoot these 2 crates. These crates are possibly my favourite thing in the entire map, because they are guaranteed missile drops, and in a game where most of the item drops are extremely random. That was GFMC compound where those 2 crates were, incidentally. Having 2 crates in there which are guaranteed to drop 5 missiles each is extremely useful. And in fact I love those crates so much I use them again on the way back to pick up a further 10 missiles. There are a lot of super missile and seeker doors I need to kill a Metroid with the screw attack there. There are a lot of super missile and seeker doors in this segment that I need to open. There's another seeker door here, and again I charge a shot and then release it and use the trick of charging seekers immediately afterwards, so I can fire a seeker without wasting a missile. I changed beam to light beam there so I could open this door. Although if I hadn't done it, wouldn't have mattered because you have to wait for the door, so there's plenty of time to change beam there anyway if you want to leave it until you reach the door. Now this is a bit awkward. You have to jump up here and then Ghetto jump off the slope there in order to get the height to reach that next platform in one jump, and that went wrong quite a few times, but I managed to get it cleanly on this occasion. Here you don't need to go up the ramp. They want you to go up the ramp, but you don't need to. You can just jump on that rock and to the door. Now that ing, I hit the ing, but that wasn't too bad. Sometimes the ing can be in a position there where it blocks the entire tunnel, which is very annoying because it means it's effectively end of segment. And also, sometimes you can boost into an ing when it's in puddle form, and that'll trap you for several seconds, which is also very annoying. I killed the Metroid again on the way back. I wanted to say in this video that no Metroids were harmed in its production at the end, but unfortunately I killed that Metroid twice on both passes through the room, so I wasn't able to do that, much to my disappointment. So that's the Upper Torvus key and 1 Temple Grounds key. That just leaves 1 key to get, which is in the dark version of landing site, which is where I'll be going now. Once again here I change beams and charge a seeker because I've only got 5 missiles left. It's a bit sloppy on that seeker target, but not to worry. Now this is where I use the turn sideways and use these crates again for the guaranteed 10 missile drop. And then this is a straightforward backtrack back through Wind Chamber, which allows me to get back to, I think it's Path of Eyes, the room with the movable light beam blocks, and then I need to take the portal in Abandoned Base to get the final key. As I say, this is just a backtrack. There's not really anything interesting to say about it. On some occasions I actually boosted past that morphball cannon and off the edge of the cliff there, which makes for a pretty funny outtake. Get the instant unmorph there, which is faster. You can screw attack to that portal. After shooting it, it is possible to screw attack straight to it rather than morphing and rolling, which may be just fractionally quicker, but I had a tendency to screw attack too high and smack into the lip above the portal, which is pretty embarrassing, so I stopped doing that. Again, this is why I had to shoot those crates, or didn't have to, but decided to shoot those crates because I needed to open a super missile door, and there's another missile door I need to open shortly. The camera's a bit unfair there. So opening this super door brings me through into the dark version of landing site, where, as I mentioned, the final key is, and I just standard way of getting it is just to screw attack to it. And as the game now very thoughtfully reminds me, I now have all the Sky Temple keys and I can get to the temple. So really at this point I need to make sure I have sufficient ammunition for the final fight. That was slightly messy, but I don't think it cost much time. So I shoot the blade pods in here. Now this was a dither here, and it's a bit ugly and messy and really not the sort of performance you'd expect from a good speedrun. What I should have sucked that in with a charge beam as well instead of walking over to it, but the slowness and kind of general ineptitude in that room doesn't actually affect my final time, because I looking at the final save time and the videos and so on, I realised I'd have to go about 35 seconds faster in order to be able to drop the final time by another minute. So that kind of string of mistakes there, or not mistakes, but just kind of indecision, and also some sort of similar things in the final segment don't actually count against me. I can afford to be sloppy at this stage because, as it turned out, the mistakes don't actually affect my final time, because I would have needed to have gone, as I say, about 35 seconds faster. I stopped there at the cache just to make sure my light beam ammo is as high as possible, which costs some time, but I felt it was worth it under the circumstances. So just the final bosses to go. So my save time at the start of the final segment is 1 hour and 50 minutes. I wanted to complete the game in under 2 hours, so I felt that was a pretty good final save time. What worried me was that I wasn't sure how easy it would be to beat Emperor Ring 3 with the new screw attack strategy that was found by Master Zed. And I practiced it on there's a little mistake there with the screw attack, but it's not gonna affect my final time at this stage. I experimented with this new strategy on a normal game, but anyway, we'll get to that later. I have to beat stages 1 and 2 first. So stage 1, in an any percent or a 100% game, you would be able to do this in 1 round because you can just use 4 super missiles on the core here. Because I've only got 10 missiles, I can't do that, so I use a charge beam shot and then switch to the light beam and use the light beam on the core and get it down to a point where I can destroy it at the start of the next round with just a single super missile. I actually didn't need as much light ammunition as I collected. That little trip to the cache at the end of the previous segment to pick up light ammunition proved not to be necessary, but never mind. So I pick up the tractor and a missile refill here, and then 1 single super shot on the core is enough. The second round would be slower than it would be, say, in a 100% game, because I only have 1 power bomb, which I use there to destroy 3 of them. Because of all the power bombs I had to collect and use in the previous segment, I was never really going to be starting this segment with any significant number of power bombs. In fact, really, I was lucky to have 1. So the rest of the round is all done just with morph ball bombs, and I think it does actually go quite well. I don't get knocked around by the ing puddle forms there too much, and most of the hits on the tentacles work out. In fact, I think more or less all of them do. So it went okay. Now, as I mentioned, Emperor Ring 3 was a bit of a worry for me because I wasn't sure whether I'd be able to make the screw attack strategy, as I mentioned, found by Master Zed, work. We'd known for a while that screw attack had an effect on Emperor Ring, but it was only recently that Master Zed figured out exactly how it works. And basically, you have to screw attack so that you kind of pass behind the backs of the feet. And you can also do it when he jumps at you, and it'll do a lot of damage, but it's basically, as I say, about screw attacking the area behind his feet, and he's almost dead already, and now he is dead. So that fight took, I think, about 35 seconds, which is funny because in the 20% run, where I did the whole thing using beams, because I have so little ammunition and so little energy, I think the fight took about maybe 13 minutes. I don't know that for sure, that's just off the top of my head, but it was there's a hardly amusing mistake there with the boost ball, but again, mistakes at this point don't make that much difference because they're not going to affect my final time. So yeah, it took an excess of 10 minutes to beat Emperor Ring 3 in the old 20% run, so you can see the value of actually knowing how to damage him reliably with a screw attack. Now, Dark Samus 3, I've got no echo visor for this fight, so I need to do enough damage before it turns invisible. to make it change to Dark Samus 4. And I did that right at the start there, again by using the screw attack, which again was a strategy that was found by Master Z, to use the screw attack. And if you get a decent hit, as I did there, you can knock off enough energy in one strike to be able to convince it to change to Dark Samus 4 long before it turns invisible. In the 20%, I use a super missile here to make it do enough damage to make the boss go straight back up and begin its phase on attack again. In the 20%, I achieved the same result of doing sufficient damage to Dark Samus 3 before it could turn invisible by using Annihilator Beam shots. Basically, after beating Emperor 3, I would shoot all the caches in the room with the save station until I got full Annihilator Beam ammo, or full light ammo and dark ammo, and then shoot with the Annihilator Beam, which does enough damage to prevent Dark Samus turning invisible in the Dark Samus 3 phase. Again here, use a super straight away to make sure it goes back to its phase-on form. I use the Dark Beam here because I think the consensus of opinion is that it does more damage. I took a hit there. If I take another hit like that, then I'm going to die, but as you can guess from the fact that this segment is in the run, I don't die. I don't get hit again, and I'm fine. So the boss has only got a sliver of health left now, so I'm just waiting for it to give me some more phase on to use, and that is end of run. And I can tell you, it felt very good. It's at times like this I wish I had some acting skills, because you have to sit through these cutscenes now, which are not skippable, and also through goodness knows how much time watching the credits. So I kind of feel like I need to ad-lib here, or do a song and dance routine or something. There's no special endings for you guys here, of course, because I only got 17%. I think for the next game, the developers should put in a special ending for skipping at least one essential item. You should get a special ending for that, but. Watch this jump here, the way you see her jump here, the way she does that somersault thing. Why can't you do that in the normal game? It hardly seems fair. You can't come out of portals in the Morph Ball either, but I'm just being pedantic now. So, hurrah, the planet is saved. Of course, this is always quite a traumatic time as a speedrunner, because you have to sit through... it was the same in the original Prime, you have to sit through the final cutscenes and the credits. When all you really want to know is the final time. They're a bit tight, aren't they, the Luminoth? You'd think they'd let her keep the dark and the light suits, given that Samus has just saved their entire planet, but... Although Samus seems pretty inept at keeping hold of her equipment, so I'm sure they'd only get destroyed before the beginning of the next game anyway, so... Perhaps it's wise of the Luminoth to actually keep hold of them. I guess they don't trust her with it. Samus Aran's insurance premiums must be massive. Can you imagine the amount of equipment she manages to lose or damage or get destroyed. It's remarkable. So with all that fun over, well, first thing I'm going to do is have a cigarette. There we are, that's much better. While we sit here and wait for the final time, which is total pretense because you already know what the final time is, I'm going to say thank you to some people who helped me with the production of this run. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to Nate, who runs Metroid2002.com and also does a lot of good work for speeddemosarchive.com. Nate was helpful by providing encouragement, and also he helped me a lot with issues related to video encoding, which he knows an enormous amount about because it's pretty much all he spends his time doing. So thank you to Nate. I'd like to thank Radix, who, even though he doesn't, Radix, who run the speeddemosarchive.com, even though he doesn't believe in the use of these secret world techniques in speedruns, and wouldn't let me have the run on speeddemosarchive.com, which is fine. I don't really care about that. But he was prepared to let me host it in the speedruns section of archive.org, which I'm very grateful to him for. So thank you, Radix. I'd like to thank Don in SS, who I apologise if that's not the correct pronunciation of your screen name there, but I think that's what it is. But he helped me with encouragement and gave me some advice and suggestions on routes and different techniques I could use to skip items, and generally took an interest. So thanks to Don in SS. I'd like to thank Silent Echo, who is of course the current any % world record holder for Metroid Prime 2 Echoes. And he basically helped me by making a couple of really long detailed posts over at samus.co.uk, basically telling me the route that I would need to take in the early part of the game, and he basically planned out the entire route I'd need to take to get 17% for the first half of the game, and provided useful information on speed tricks and so on. So thank you to Silent Echo. I'd like to thank Red Scarlet, because she without her I doubt I'd have started the run, because I mentioned to Scarlet on IRC that I was thinking about doing a another low percent run of Echoes, and she was like, oh, you know, you've got to do this. And every time I was bored, she'd say, well, where's that run? When are you going to start that run? So I'm not sure it would have happened if she hadn't kept nagging me into starting it. So thanks, Red Scarlet. I'd like to thank Master Zed, who was very, very helpful with techniques for secret worlds. He also, of course, came up with the strategies that I used against the final bosses, and they would have been much, much more difficult if I hadn't had those strategies. He came up with the entire quadraxis skip, annihilator beam skip, wall crawl, and as I say, he was helpful with those parts of the world. What am I talking about? Of the run, which required secret world usage. So thanks very much to Master Zed. I'd like to thank Extra X, who provided similar service to Master Zed. He was very helpful, telling me about routes, debating different routes I could take at different points in the game to get Sky Temple keys. He was helpful. The technique I actually used to get the early Power Bomb expansion via Secret World came from Extra X, the precise way I did that, and he just generally took an interest and was helpful throughout the run. And finally, I'd like to say thank you to Bartender Sparky, who was he was great. He was continually encouraging, Had loads of good advice. Was great to talk to about the non-secret world parts of the speedrun. He gave me strategies for beating a Morbis. He helped me with Chica. He told me to try dashing across Grand Abyss instead of roll jumping. And was just generally wonderful in the interest he took in it and the input he had in it. And it would have been slower by minutes if it hadn't been for Sparky. So thank you very much, Sparky. So that's the end of the speedrun. I hope you've enjoyed it. And as you can plainly see now, my final time was 1 hour and 55 minutes, which I think is pretty good. I could have probably gone a couple of minutes faster if absolutely everything had worked out perfectly, but I'm not too disappointed with that. So thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.